I hate bullies, thugs who use their strength to push other people around. They think they can achieve power and...
But do not worry, because at this game, you guys are allowed to kneel. You can do whatever the hell you want. There's no old white man that can stop you. You never
hang on to it by intimidating others. Sadly, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't.
People run to the bathroom and send out crazy tweets. It's basically like the typical day at the White House. In your face, Trump, suck it!
In the gilded halls of Mar-a-Lago, where the air is thick with the stench of overpriced hairspray and the echoes of shattered egos, a storm was brewing. The former president, a man whose fragile ego was as brittle as his grasp on reality, had once again found himself in the crosshairs of a duo of comedic titans, Kevin Hart and Robert De Niro. It all began, as these things often do, with a simple tweet.
And now we have Trump. He's all that.
A jab, a playful poke at the former president's expense, sent out by the inimitable Kevin Hart. But as we all know, when it comes to Donald Trump, nothing is ever simple. Please don't forget to subscribe and like this video. It is free and help us bring you enjoyable content. And of course, watch till the end. Now, anyone who's even remotely familiar with the workings of the Trump psyche knows that the man has the emotional resilience of a toddler who's just been denied a second scoop of ice cream. And when it comes to the likes of Kevin Hart and Robert De Niro, it's like poking a bear, one that's been doused in spray tan and wears a tie that reaches down to its knees. So, as the former president reads those scathing words, you can almost hear the gears in his mind grinding to a halt, the cogs of his fragile ego grinding against one another.
Intimidation, retribution. He's going to prosecute. He's going to send you to jail for having an abortion. He's going to take your Medicare and Social Security away. He's going to deport you. He's going to send the military after you if you defy him. You know this shit works on?
Another like the rusted parts of a neglected machine. The Diet Coke trembles in his hand, the phone clenched so tightly that his knuckles turn white, and suddenly, the silence of Mar-a-Lago is shattered by the sound of...
The MAGA politicians who are afraid of losing their power. They're so afraid of him, he's got them kissing us. And now they're trying to intimidate us. We will not allow that, not even for a minute, not even for...
Pure, unadulterated rage. The ketchup bottle flies across the room, splattering against the wall like a Jackson Pollock painting, as Trump unleashes a torrent of all-caps fury, his face turning redder than a sunburned tourist in Florida. The Wi-Fi at Mar-a-Lago starts overheating from the sheer volume of angry Truth Social posts, as the former president lashes out at his old nemeses, Hart and De Niro, with all the subtlety of a toddler throwing a tantrum. The perverts at the failed Lincoln Project, who I was told were left rhinos that had lost their way in almost all of their financial support, just did an ad showing a...
You took your hat off for Trump following his dreams, getting in the race, and putting some action behind his words. Looking back, do you still feel the same way, or has your attitude changed at all?
Well, I think when those things came out, it was just simply about a guy doing something that was a goal. But that was before a guy opened up his mouth and you found out who that person was. So I don't even remember the things that were said, because right now they've been taken away by hearing a masquerade of things.
Calm and peaceful southern border, not an illegal migrant in sight, he rages, his words spilling forth in a torrent of grammatical chaos. Explaining what a great job crooked Joe Biden did in dealing with what has become one of the many Biden-inspired country-threatening problems facing the United States today. But the real kicker, the thing that really sends him over the edge, is the audacity of Hart and De Niro to suggest that he, the great Donald Trump, could ever be a walking punchline. It's a slap to the ego, a challenge to his carefully cultivated image of invincibility, and the former president is not about to take it lying down. Hart, with his rapid-fire delivery and his uncanny ability to find the humor in even the most dire of situations, takes the stage first, his microphone in hand and a mischievous grin plastered across his face. He starts slow, lulling the audience into a false sense of security, before unleashing a barrage of one-liners that leave the former president reeling. You know, I always thought Trump's hair looked like a toupee that was thrown into a blender and then glued back on, Hart quips, eliciting a roar of laughter from the crowd. And let's not forget his signature move, the handshake that looks like a toddler trying to figure out how to use chopsticks. But just when the audience thinks they've seen the worst of it...
At the end of the day, Donald Trump is the president. Guys, we do not fucking sit and mourn. We move on. Now, if you're a firm believer in a higher goddamn power, I am. I believe that God conquers all, and I believe that God does not put nothing on your table, on your plate, that you can't handle.
Hart turns his attention to the former president's Twitter antics, reading out some of his most baffling tweets with a mix of disbelief and uproarious laughter. This man was the leader of the free world, and he thought kofefi was a real word.
It's that simple, man. I've overcome a lot in my life, and I did not overcome a lot in my life to get to this point and give up and stop trying to do and stay true to what I believe in.
Hart says, shaking his head in mock dismay. I mean, come on, even my grandma knows the difference between there, and she's been dead for 10 years.
Nobody has worse Trump derangement syndrome than Robert De Niro, and this is peak derangement. What an absolute moron.
The idea to be bullied at my age by someone like this is not happening. And I think other people are going to have to stand up and just, because it's either that or you're going to find yourself in a situation that's so terrifying.
Years. And just when the audience is gasping for breath, Robert De Niro steps up to the mic, his iconic tough guy stare piercing through the room like a dagger. The legendary actor doesn't mince words, delivering a scathing critique of the former president's character, leadership, and overall fitness for office. This man is a fool, a total loser, De Niro growls, his voice dripping with disdain. He's got the ego of a toddler and the attention span of a goldfish. And let's not forget the way he thinks he can just bully his way through everything. It's like watching a mob boss try to run a daycare. The audience is in stitches, their laughter echoing through the halls of Mar-a-Lago like the sound of 1,000 nails in the former president's coffin. And as Hart and De Niro trade barbs, the former president sits there, his face twisted in a mask of rage and humiliation, his precious ego shattered beyond repair. As the dust settles and the laughter subsides, the former president is left to pick up the pieces of his shattered ego.
By real boxers in movies. I watched him last night. Truly believe he may be punch drunk. And then he says, at the end, he says, "Wake up, Punchy," he says to you. And that's not the only time.
His once fearsome image reduced to little more than a punchline in the comedic masterpiece that is Hart and De Niro's roast. Gone are the days of adoring crowds and fawning sycophants, replaced by the harsh reality of a world.
He moved over to Truth Social. Robert De Niro, whose acting talents have greatly diminished with his reputation now shot, must even use a teleprompter for his foul and disgusting language, so disrespectful to our
that has seen through his facade of bravado and bluster. The former president, once the master of the universe, now finds himself reduced to a mere spectacle, a cautionary tale of the dangers of unchecked ego.
Now, in all fairness to the former president, is that true? Do you have to use a teleprompter when speaking about President Trump? Or are you able to just kind of riff on your thoughts on him?
He's so stupid.
Robert De Niro doesn't just roast Trump.
And the power of comedy to bring even the mightiest of figures crashing down to earth.
I'm going to say one thing. Fuck Trump.
And as he sits there, nursing his wounds and plotting his next move, he can't help but wonder, how did it all go so wrong? How did the man who once commanded the attention of millions, who convinced countless Americans to buy into his? The answer, dear readers, lies in the simple truth that even the most powerful among us are not immune to the power of laughter. For when the mighty are brought low, when the ego is shattered, and the illusion of invincibility is stripped away, the only thing left is the raw, unvarnished truth, a truth that, in the hands of master comedians like Hart and De Niro, becomes a weapon of unparalleled potency. So, as the former president licks his wounds and plots his next move, let us take a moment to savor the sweet taste of justice, the knowledge that even the most formidable of foes can be brought low by the power of wit and humor. Let us not be intimidated by the bullies and thugs who would seek to silence us, but rather, let us meet their aggression with a barrage of laughter, a torrent of wit and humor that leaves them reeling and their precious egos in tatters. For in the end, dear viewers, the true power lies not in the size of one's ego or the reach of one's influence, but in the strength of one's character and the resilience of one's spirit. And when we stand together, United in our laughter and our refusal to be cowed, we can overcome even the greatest of challenges and emerge victorious. So, let's get to work, my friends. Let's sharpen our wit, hone our comedic skills, and unleash a wave of laughter that will echo through the halls of power, toppling the mighty and empowering the marginalized. After all, as the great Mark Twain once said, against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. And with the power of Hart and De Niro at our backs, I have no doubt that we can overcome even the greatest of obstacles and pave the way for a brighter, more just future. So, let's get to it, dear readers. The stage is set, the curtain is rising, and the world is waiting to see what we can do. Let's show them the true power of laughter and watch as even the mightiest of foes crumble before our comedic onslaught.